Hello everyone, welcome to Monday. How are you all? How's your weekend been? And what have you been up to? Let me just get you up on Facebook here so I can see you all. There we go. So how are you? What have you been up to? How's your weekend been? Can you believe we are in week 6? This is week 6 of these online videos of Arty Farty Retreat online, which just feels a little bit crazy. Week 6, can't believe that. So we're doing watercolours this week as well. There we go. I can see you hands free. How have you been? Hello Helen, hello Lynn. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. What have you been up to over the weekend? What have you guys been doing? Hello Olivia, nice to see you. I did some happy notes. So if anybody did the weekend challenge, I know a couple of you did because you sent me some photographs. So I did a couple of happy notes with different designs. They're mainly the same wording because obviously they want to keep it as generic as possible. If you're not sure what our weekend challenge was, have a look further down the page and you'll see the challenge there and all the details of what to do. But these are going to go to some very in-need people in need of a lift. So have a look at those if you haven't done them already, if you haven't done the weekend challenge. Who else have we got? Hello Rosie and Edith, and Helen's been walking on the beach. Nice. It's been gorgeous actually. Today's particularly sunny. Hello Sue, nice to see you. Pinkie Pie. Tabitha and Jocelyn, hello Joe, hello Cheryl, hello Emma. How are we doing? Sue's been sunbathing, very nice indeed, very nice indeed. We had our first online family quiz this weekend, which was a lot of fun, so really enjoyed that. I've also been making my own gin. I had a kit to make my own gin that I got back in February. Or I think it might be for Christmas actually, and finally got around to using it, so I'm waiting patiently for my gin to be created. What else did I do? Oh, I managed to get flour. Woohoo! Managed to get flour, so I've been able to bake some bread as well, which has been great. Hi Kelly, hello Olivia. It's not too late, Emma, to send me cards, so if anybody wants to carry on doing the weekend challenge, the cards for happy notes, absolutely not too late, so send them on through. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So all the address and everything's on the post, so just have a look a bit further down for the weekend challenge post. That's not a problem. So we're going to do some watercolour painting this week, and we're going to do something different each day, and I'm hoping this will kind of get us into it. Oh, my hair's on there. It's the added beauty of having your hair down is that it goes everywhere. So we're going to paint some feathers today because I'm hoping that this will kind of give you a bit of a tip, a bit of a hint of all those different things that we did last time we did watercolours, which was probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I can't believe we're on week 6 of doing this, crazy. So we're going to do those. So I'm hoping that you guys have all got watercolour paper, watercolour paints, some water in a jar, and some brushes. I'm just going to use one size brush today. I'm not worried about size brushes. What else have you been doing? Oh, Olivia, you made cupcakes. Nice. Nicely done. Cheryl's been cleaning up after other people have been cooking in the kitchen. Nice. Excellent. Yes, my kitchen looks like a bit of a bomb site when my husband decides to have a go. So hopefully you've all got all of your different materials. So I'm going to just see if I can lower you guys down so that you can see, she said, hopefully. There we go. So that you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. Hopefully you guys can see that now. Oh, Olivia, they were chocolate cupcakes. Nice. Love a bit of chocolate. Yeah, I think I've definitely been baking more and therefore eating more. But it's been a good weekend though. It's been a great weekend. I went to, I managed to get flour in Booker's. So I've got this gigantic sack of flour now that's going to last me the month. So it'll be great. Hi Lena, nice to see you. Oh, fab. You guys painted stones to put out on your walks. What a lovely idea for other people to find. Great idea, great idea. Hello Olivia and Isabel, nice to see you. Excellent stuff. Banana bread baking, all sorts of stuff going on, excellent. So before I paint this, just to remind you all that the pigment of the watercolour paints will only go as far as you put the water. So don't worry about spreading any further. So if you want those nice clear crisp lines, just make sure you go up to just where you want with the water, and then it won't spread anywhere else. So we're gonna paint 4 feathers, just so you know to leave enough room. Now this first one's gonna test your steady hands. So I'm gonna start with some blue. It really doesn't matter what colours you decide to use. You can use completely different ones. In fact, go for it. Use completely different ones. What I'm using. I'm just using a blue for this one. Oh, hello, Chris and Sophie. You joined us. Excellent. So this is gonna test your steady hands. So all I'm gonna do by hand is paint one line down that way. If you're struggling with getting a steady hand, it sounds really silly, but put your little finger out, your little pinky, because it just helps steady your hand while you're trying to get a straight line. I'm then going to turn this round, and I'm going to put another straight line up by the side of it, but leaving a slight gap in between. So I might just get a little bit more paint. It's quite heavy on pigment as well that I'm using here. So here we go. So I'm just going to go very straight line. And I'm just going to leave a little gap. Here, look, I'm going to have to put my pinky finger out. Ooh, it doesn't matter if it wobbles, because mine certainly will be. And try and get it as close as you can. So you end up with a very, very thin white line in between. Okay, so hopefully you guys have got that really, really steady with your hands. Hello, Elaine. Oh, gosh, I haven't seen you for ages. And then what I'm going to do is just get a general shape of our feather. Okay, so we're just I'm going to make this quite stubby little feather, I think. So I'm going to bring it down, maybe a couple of flicks up. So the nice thing about feathers is that they're such irregular shapes. You can really play with how you're going to outline them. I'm going to bring that all the way down there. So can you see I'm literally just outlining it, the side of it. Yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine. It can be completely different. That's fine. All I'm doing is showing you the basic techniques, and all we're doing is getting the outline. You're struggling with keeping it steady, Lena. Don't worry. Mine, if you look at mine, it's actually really wobbly. Really wobbly. So just keep that pinky finger out and move your hand with it. Right, so I'm going to come in here. Oh, need a bit more water with that. And bring it in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the water, because we don't want this feather to just be one colour, because I don't think I've ever seen a feather that is just one colour. Even the kind of plain white feathers that you quite often find on the ground aren't just white. They're lots and lots of different colours. So we're gonna make these different colours here. Might not make this one stick out so far. There we go. So in order to do this, do you remember when we were doing watercolours before, we dropped the colour into the wet, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I've got my outline here. Just a message from Charlotte there. Ah, I'm late. Don't worry. Don't worry about being late. You can catch up. There's no worries. So I've just done that outline, and we're just going to use just water to paint around it, but be careful that you leave that white gap in the middle. Leave your very, very thin white gap in the middle. So the paint will only go where you put the water. So make sure you put enough water on there as well. It's not going to absorb and dry out. There we go. It's one side and the other side. There we go. So only get that water to the edges of your outline. And you can see those edges are starting to blur a little bit as well. And then we're going to drop, so because I'm using blue, I'm going to use kind of different blues that I'm just going to drop into my feather. Can you see, I'll lower you guys down a little bit more. Can you see how that colour is just merging? And if I add another blue, so I'm going to go slightly darker blue over here. You see how it's only going as far as that water line is. It's not going any further. Okay, I might even add a little bit of green into my feather here. And I'm just going to bring it out to the edges of the outline there as well. And you can see how that water's really letting it blend into each other. Hi Michelle, I can see your comment there. There we go. I've added lots of pigment in there to give us a really nice rich colour for that bottom bit as well. And you can leave gaps where you haven't got any pigment on there as well. Yeah, so I've left a couple of little white gaps there. Let's use some of this lighter blue, I think, in here as well. It's a really nice colour. It's almost a turquoisey. Hello, Kerry. Nice to see you guys joining us. Excellent. So you can really play around with these colours of just blending them, dropping them in. I might add a little bit more green down here, actually. You see how that just blends? It spreads, but only to where you've put that water. And of course, as it dries, it will probably look completely different. So I'm going to use some of our dark blue now to just give our feather the end there. There we go. And what you can do quite often with feathers, you get lots of little spiky feathers at the bottom. So I'm just going to add in a couple of feathers coming out here and off the edge there. I'm just going to blend that green in. You're just using the very, very tip of the brush so you get nice thin lines. There we go, our first feather. How have you guys got on? Brush pens work. Do brush pens work like watercolour if you put them in water? It depends on the brush pens you use. So some brush pens are specifically for using like watercolour, and then you generally put water over the top, or you put water in the. They've already got the paint mixed up with water in the tube. Depends what kind of brush pens you've got. But yeah, sometimes if you add the water on them, it really depends on the type. I'm glad it's therapeutic to watch, Kerry. That's nice. So if we're all ready, I'm going to move on to our next one. I'm going to move on to our next couple of feathers. Now you can kind of copy along with me with this, or you can have a go at creating them slightly differently. Different colours, as I say, you can always use different colours. So I'm going to pop you back down again so that you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to, this one, I think I'm going to use a nice red for this one. And I'm just going to use two colours. So again, I'm just going to get that really, really thin, steady line. I might go up a little bit further in this one. So one line. Doesn't matter, mine's definitely not straight. In fact, I'm curving in at the end there on purpose. And I'm going to turn it round, and this is where I have to be really careful that I don't smudge this one. And I'm just going to get another line coming up. As I say, just try and keep it as thin as you can. That white line in the middle. There we go. I'm not going to close off the top for this one because I'm actually going to make this feather quite nice and pointy. So we're going to give this one a slightly different look to it. Now, using quite a lot of water in my paint, in my pigment, because we want this to stay quite wet so that we can drop another colour into it. I'm just going to paint a very, very thin, so I'm going to get it very thin at the top, and then we're going to come down a little bit further and come out a bit as you come down, so we've got that nice round bit at the bottom. There we go. As I say, keep adding water to your pigment so that you've got this nice and wet. And we're going to work on one side at a time. So I'm going to work on this side. I'm going to flick a couple of bits out here as well. So we've got a couple of feathers coming out. And again, keep it nice and wet. Plenty of pigment, plenty of water. And go right to the edges where you've painted there as well. Okay, so while that's still wet, what we're going to do is add another pigment in. So we kind of make this a little bit stripy, this one. I'm going to add a little bit of blue in, actually. So what I'm going to do is very much like this one where we were dropping it in. I'm just going to drop it in at various points. I might make it a little bit stripy. But you can see that while it's still wet, you've got nice soft edges, and that blue will really start to blend into the red. Try not to make it too regular either. Let this one come up a little bit more. There we go. And that last bit, which I can see is just starting to dry, so I think I've just put that in just in time, that bit of pigment at the bottom. So you'll see that that really starts to blend in, and you can get some of that colour coming out on those edges as well. Okay, so then we're going to do the other side exactly the same. So again, lots of water. Make sure you've got lots of water with that pigment, that first pigment that you're going to use. So I'm going to go back to that red, and I'm going to keep it very thin at the top. I'm just going to do a basic outline first. Keep it down to there, there we go. And then plenty of paint, plenty of water, right up to the edges, right up to that lovely straight white line that you've got in the middle. Lots of paint, and then you can flick some out as well so that you've got some feathers coming up here, some little bits out the side. Just with the very, very point of your brush. I'm going to take that up a bit further. There we go. So hopefully you guys are with me. So Elaine, no, I didn't wet the paper first. So this is on dry paper, but when I am painting on, I'm painting it on fairly wet paint wise, so that you get a really nice spread of these pigments in with each other. Now, if you want to make them symmetrical, please make them symmetrical. It's entirely up to you. This is your design if you want to make the splodges symmetrical. But they will really start to blend. This one's quite wet, so it will really start to blend, which will be lovely. Don't forget to get it right up to the edge. So how are you guys doing? Are you all good? What colours have you all picked? Have you all picked lovely colours for this? There are some beautiful colours. So I'm going to bring this blue all the way down to the bottom. Ooh, dropped a bit of blue. And then I'm going to bring that down again. And just very, very thin. Couple of bits coming out there using the very, very tip of the brush. There we go. And then come to that bottom point again. So you can see how it's really blending nicely now. You can still get those patterns and those stripes in. Oh, Olivia, you've just put a big blob of water in. That's okay, because actually, if you remember, we did that technique. I can't remember what we were doing it with, but we did that technique when we did watercolours before, where you paint it and then drop that in, and that's exactly what we're going to do on the next feather. So this is the last feather that I'm going to do with you guys, and then the fourth one, I want you guys to do whatever you like with it. Use whatever techniques you like with it. It's absolutely fine. You could go back to it after it's dried, which is what I'm going to do with the one that I'm going to drop water into. So your big mistake, Olivia, will turn out to be a beauty. So that's what I'm going to do, and then let it dry and then put dots over the top of it. It's quite often get spotted feathers. So this last one that we're going to do together, and then you're going to do one on your own. So I'm going to use a nice, what colour shall I use? Oh, I might use a nice soft green actually, and then add some brown into it. So again, I'm just going to get that really nice line down the middle. There we go, even thinner if I dare with this one. Okay, and again, keep your pigment really, really strong for this one, but make sure that it doesn't dry. So I'm going to block off the top on this one. So we're going to come round, maybe into that kind of a shape. There we go. So again, make sure you keep it nice and wet. I'm going to do one side at a time again, like we did before. So with this one side, keeping it nice and wet, I'm going to add some brown into this as well, maybe into the bottom. There we go. Nice and wet so that that blends. Some feathers coming out of there as well. And then we're going to do exactly what you've just done, Olivia. So we're going to just drop water into it. So I'm just going to put a couple. And as that dries, you'll see that you get a really, really interesting pattern emerge. I'm going to put a little bit more in that one. Oh, there we go. It's a nice big one. Okay, and then I'm going to do the other side. So I've only done a few so that they don't completely obliterate each other. So I'm going to do the other side, taking this water down. There we go. All the way down if we can. Again, don't forget to add a few kind of feather flicks on the side. Keep it nice and wet. And then we're going to add in the brown down the bottom. Again, fairly wet. Make sure it blends in. And then using the water, you can see some of those marks on the other side coming through really well now. I'm just going to drip a couple of spots into our paint. There we go. So hopefully, I might have to bring you guys a little bit closer to see that. Hopefully you can see that mark coming through. And I'm just going to finish the bottom off just with a little bit of brown for that tail end of our feather. There we go. And then once that's dried, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some little brown dots up at the top so that all works in. And then I'm going to do my fourth one. So hopefully you've enjoyed that and enjoyed using those different techniques. I'm going to do that fourth one and then I'll take a picture and I'll pop it on. So please, please, please take pictures of the work that you're doing, pop it on the comments below. And if you see somebody else's that has done it as well, please comment on theirs as well. It would be really nice to enjoy everyone's artwork there. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow you're going to need exactly the same thing. So a piece of watercolour paper, water, watercolour paints and your brushes. And that's it. Have a very good Monday, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.